Okay, so I think we will start, and as people join, they can follow in on what we are doing. So thank you all for being here today. Well, my name is Fiona, and I'm from the Institute for Advanced Architecture of Catalonia. And I've been following this project here at IAC the last 2 years, and I'm also faculty here, so very much involved in the educational side of things at IAC. And today we want to share with you a project that we have been developing with several partners that we will go further into. And we've titled this webinar Beyond Disciplinary Boundaries in Education, as this is something that we believe is the future of education, and that we need to start to rethink how traditional courses are being implemented in universities. So today we will share with you how we or what this project is about. So what Green Skills has been developing over the last 2 years. We will share with you also the educational program that we set up, a cross-border and transdisciplinary program. And we will also have the students of this program share some of the insights and their experiences, as well as the projects that they developed. Then we will have some best practices on transdisciplinary education. So we have some invited guests, who are Alyssa, who is from Leibniz University of Hanover, and she will be presenting SID, which is another Erasmus Plus program. And then we have Brindis from Pavlov Reykjavik, who will share a bit about the work they are doing with education there, and also about the Cocoon project, which is another Erasmus Plus project. And myself, I will share with you a project that was developed several years ago that kind of kick-started our fascination and interest in developing transdisciplinary education. And we will finish with a sort of roundtable discussion and interactive session where you are also welcome to ask any questions. And just before we really start, this program or this session is going to be recorded. And if you don't want to be seen, then I would suggest that you keep your video off. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the question and answer tab in the Zoom meeting, and we will answer those questions throughout the session. So to begin with, I would like to give you a little bit of a background into what Green Skills is about. So Green Skills for Cities is a 2-year Erasmus Plus project that is slowly coming to an end now. But we are now sharing all the work that we've developed. And in the next month, we are also hosting several different events in Barcelona, Vienna, and Genoa. So we will share this information with you as well. But the main goal of Green Skills for Cities is to establish a transdisciplinary educational platform aimed at the development of skills in the field of nature-based solution implementation in cities. So we've been working along these lines to understand how we can provide courses that help people to get the required skills that they need to also be able to work in public bodies, in municipalities, and be able to convince stakeholders the importance of NBS. So in this project, we had 4 partners. The first, which is the project coordinator, which is BU in Vienna. They are the business partner in this, or say partner focusing on business and economy in this project. Then we have the Institute for Advanced Architecture of Catalonia with the Advanced Architecture Group, and we are focusing more on the design dimension. And then the University of Genoa, which is bringing both the botany and the technology. So these are the three kind of higher education institutions involved. And then we also have ALDA, which is a network of, or they have a network of cities, and they work often with public bodies and municipalities. So they've been vital in also creating that connection. The main outputs of this project have been focused on education. So we've been developing both curricula and resources that today we will focus on one in particular, which is a long-term program and how we implemented this within 3 different universities with the different disciplines. But we've also been developing content for trainers and to be able to host this kind of workshop or this kind of educational program in the form of a workshop. As I mentioned, there are also several other events. So if you are in Barcelona, Vienna, or Genoa this month, we will be hosting 3 symposium that will talk on these topics. So first, we will have the one in Vienna on November 22nd, then in Genoa on November 24th, and finally in Barcelona, November 27th and 28th. So we would also be happy to see you there at these events. So the main part of today is that we're wanting to share with you our insights and our learnings from developing an educational program with universities coming from multiple different backgrounds. This educational program was embedded into these 3 higher education institutions over a 5-month period. And it really started by developing a common curricula that could be implemented at all 3 universities, but that could then also be adapted to fulfill certain academic requirements. As we wanted to kind of explore what the possibilities were with setting up such an educational framework, we took several approaches in setting up the curriculum and thinking about innovative elements that could be utilized to develop such curricula. So the main aspect is the transdisciplinary nature of this educational program, bringing business, design, botany, and technology students all together to work on a project as one, as well as bringing in experts from each of the universities to support the students and also give insights. To be able to achieve such a program, also considering that we are located in 3 different countries, we use different methodologies such as flipped teaching, where the students received resources before, and then we did certain activities with them to test their knowledge. We use learning by doing and service learning to actually implement or work on the practical project that they developed. And really what is kind of pioneering about this program is that it created this collaborative international learning opportunity with the universities in 3 countries, but also bringing in and consulting with municipalities and public bodies in these countries. So to simplify the whole academic structure of this, the program was divided into 2 sections or 2 modules. The first being the theoretical module, where we use the flipped teaching methodology, and students were able to receive resources that were developed by all 3 universities. And then the practical module, where they could actually apply their skills and their newly developed skills to design nature-based solutions for a particular city that we will further go into shortly. When setting up this program, the first thing for us was to develop a kind of calendar structure that would allow all the students to participate, but also create opportunities for students to come together. So first, we dedicated the theoretical module to the kind of first half of the program, where the students worked more within their universities, but having access also to inputs from additional experts. And then this was followed by the practical module that we decided to bring all the students together in the city of Genoa and to actually develop a project for the city of Genoa with all the students on site. This was a decision that we took that ended up being very valuable, but this allowed them to really get to know each other and really benefit from this transdisciplinary education program. And this practical module was then split up with a workshop in Genoa where they really developed their projects, and then finished also with a final pitching online in front of experts from Genoa. With the learners, we had shared with them this graphic to kind of explain how the overall structure would work. So starting from an online kickoff where they were introduced to the program and to the different participants. Then we had the different lessons that happened within the universities, but also we shared these lessons. So here at IAC, we also did the botany and technology lessons and the economics lessons, and the same happened in the other universities. Then we had the case study trip to Genoa. Then the students had the opportunity to work remotely for a few weeks to further develop their projects. And then we had the final pitch. So we tried to structure it in a way that would allow them to collaborate, but also really make the most of an opportunity like this. The Genoa workshop was probably the highlight that I'm sure some of the students will further talk to you about shortly. And this was because this was really the opportunity where students could really learn from each other and discuss in their groups and give their input, and really kind of push forward their initial kind of ideas on nature-based solutions. So this workshop was very intense. It was 3 days long. But here we focus very much on transdisciplinary learning, pitching, and also team building, which I think is something that is fundamental when you bring students together from lots of different backgrounds, from different educational systems. This really helps kind of break all the barriers that we usually kind of initially have. So the final outputs that we required the students to produce from this was a 3-minute pitch, their presentation slides, and we also asked for a report, which you can find online, because these students actually worked a huge amount developing, well, not only doing the analysis of Genoa, but also developing their nature-based solutions. So they collected all this information in a report that we have shared also online. And in terms of how we then evaluate such a program, once we did the final pitching, the experts got the opportunity to explain or to rank the projects, but obviously each institution also had to bring their methods of evaluation to meet the academic criteria. So for this program, for those interested to learn more or to know more about this, we have developed several resources. So each university prepared 2 study-at-home presentations, 2 video tutorials, a series of case studies, and 2 in-class activities, which you can all find online here, well, on our website for Green Skills for Cities. And with this information, the idea is that other institutions can take this information and start to replicate the kind of program we did. So not only will you have the resources, but also the curriculums that we developed. So with that, I just want to summarize this first part with some key learnings from the implementation of this program. So I think one of the biggest important aspects of this was the in-person workshop. I think the students also really appreciated the opportunity to learn from the different dimensions and test out their skills. There's always the challenge then going back to remote working, because I think a lot more was done when students were in Genoa together. And again, the importance of team building and icebreaker activities in such an environment. So before we hear from the students, we just wanted to give you a short input of how this course was implemented in each of the institutions, as each institution took a slightly different approach. So from IX side, it was implemented as a seminar in the Master in City and Technology, which is one of the master programs we offer. And this was done with students in their second year of the master program. So students who had already been developing and learning about these topics. And this was, we focused very much on topics related to ecological connectivity that had been developed by Matilda Marengo and Jacopo Neri. And the idea here really was that we first gave the students all the resources, we organized in-class activities to test their knowledge in the form of mini workshops, as well as having extra sessions with Jacopo and Matilda to develop sort of the analysis aspect that the students brought to this project before going to Genoa and presenting also their inputs there. And then we had the sort of common strategy where we worked together in Genoa, we then went to remote working, and then the final sort of workshop and pitch. In the resources that were developed, we focused very much on the kind of design dimension. So how can we do analysis of the sites, but also what are the kinds of strategies that we could use for nature-based solutions at the territorial level. So looking at concepts like ecological connectivity, rewilding cities, renaturing cities, and also digital tools that can help us to achieve this. And the two kind of activities that we developed as part of this project was first the analog parametric design mapping tool. So a strategy of understanding how kind of parametric design works in an analog way. And then another activity focusing on site analysis and understanding site transformation. So with that, then I would pass the word over to Marie-Sophie to quickly share how it was implemented at VU.
Thank you. So my name is Marie-Sophie Adams, and as Fiona already said, we bring in the economic side, so we're the Vienna University of Economics and Business, short VU. And I will just tell you a bit about our implementation. So you can go to the next slide already. So for us, it was a bit different. It was an elective course, so we had an open call which students could apply for, and we mainly had masters, but also advanced bachelor students from very different fields of study at VU. So it was a much more diverse group of students because it wasn't just one master's course or one master's degree. And so the resources, but also the ideas behind it was prepared also by a colleague, Laura Hohoff, and by myself. And so running the course was quite similar to IAC. We had a flipped teaching module where students would receive the resources beforehand, but also it included a few small exercises that they could also prepare for the in-class activities so that they actually had some background information to come to class for. And then we had sort of these mini workshops at VU. And then, of course, the workshop in Genoa, and then remote working. So you can go to the next slide, and then I'll talk a bit about the resources that we prepared. Could you go to the next slide? Thank you. Perfect. Yes. These again were also developed by my colleague Lara Hohoff and by myself, and you can find the resources online again. And so the topics that we covered at VU was, first of all, a more general overview of business sustainability, also the understanding that we use at our institute, and also how to develop a business model canvas specifically for nature-based solutions. So looking at different elements of a business model. Then, which also came up while researching, is that financing nature-based solutions is quite an important topic, which business and economic students could actually bring into the group, and important EU policies in that respect as well. And of course, pitching. This was also a big part of the resources. And we used different methods which sort of helped collaborative work. So it was all group work. We used world cafes and jigsaw teaching. And here are the two examples of our in-class activities. So we had as one module focused more on business model canvas, so looking at the value, but also different elements of a business model canvas. And here we focused on specifically one case study in Vienna called Biotop City. And for the second workshop, we looked into financing nature-based solutions, but also prepared students for pitching. So here we had group work on looking into different financing methods of nature-based solutions. And then the pitching exercise was sort of this preparation also for Genoa and for the end pitches. First using some random words for pitching, and then also looking into the nature-based solutions that they'd worked on in their groups. So these were just two examples of our activities. And then I think I'll give the word to Margarita.
Hi everyone. Thank you, Marie-Sophie. Yeah, this is Margherita Pongiglione from University of Genoa. So if you move to the next slide, please. Okay, thank you, Fiona. So I'm going to show you how the classes were given at our university. So our lectures were given and offered to different master's degrees. So the Master in Nature Conservation and Management and the Master in Architecture. So involving two different departments. One was the Department of Architecture and Design, and the other one was the Department of Earth, Environment and Life Sciences. So the lectures were prepared by professors from both institutions, from both departments. And the interesting things is that, of course, as Fiona mentioned, classes were offering a transdisciplinary background on the business side and also on the design side. But at the University of Genoa itself, we had, as mentioned before, two different departments involved and two different backgrounds. So our students were already coming from two different backgrounds. So students with the botany and the architecture and technology backgrounds were mixed in the same class. And accordingly, our learning resources were touching the topic of nature-based solution from two different perspectives, the perspective of the botanist and the perspective of the architects. So trying to really provide an insight of how to design them, but also how to choose the correct plant species to achieve certain design goals. So the topics provided were, of course, general concepts on sustainability, climate change and its related challenges, sustainable development goals, ecosystem services and these services, and of course, nature-based solutions in, can you go back, please? Okay. In all these senses, so not only the philosophy behind it, but also practical examples. And also characteristics and performance of plant species, for example, showing what plants helps you, for example, to capture pollution, and what other can store CO2, and a series of case studies. Then, if you go next, please. Okay, thank you. Of course, we offered not only the study at home resources, but also in-class activities. Here I'm showing more specifically those that were prepared by UNIGE, but of course we enjoyed doing the classes, the activities prepared by AIAC and VU a lot. But our activities were the work cafe. So students had to write down something on a specific topic, and then everything that was written in the board was passed into another group that were just adding what they thought about the topic, and this another time. So in the end, we had a general discussion in which everybody were kind of sharing their thoughts on a specific topic. The design game was the other activity, and that was a preparation for the activity we had during the workshop in Genoa. So our students had to choose a site and try to implement in that site some nature-based solutions they chose. And I was really close to the activity they had to do during the workshop in Genoa. And they had a preliminary taste of what an interdisciplinary design works, because the botany students were not as that prepared to the design activities, and the architects were not so knowledgeable on botany. So it was very fun and interesting for them to experience that. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So we wanted for you to also see what the students have developed and also get some insights from how the students felt about the program. So the students developed nature-based solutions for 3 sites in Genoa that were selected by the municipality there. These are sites that needed to be rethought for different issues, and each of the student groups tackled and identified certain specific challenges to these sites. So what I would like to do is I would like to now ask the students to share their projects and what they felt about being part of such a program. So we will start with Parsha. If you are there, you should be able to share your screen.
Hello. Hello. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
You can
perfect.
see. Yeah.
Okay. So I represent the group Green Wave. We had with us urban planners, economists, and a botanist. Our site was a surface parking lot, and essentially a lot of ideas revolved around how we could reutilize these spaces within the city. Because especially with respect to parking lots, what they tend to do is that they tend to reduce even the surface green cover, which is very essential to a great urban environment. We looked at how our project could inculcate a combination of environmental, social, and economic changes that could create a circular co-production. And for us, it was really important to connect this lower half of this urban scape because it was already being converted by the municipality into a garden. So we looked at different strategies and points of interest where we could set up a few nature-based solutions and a few social solutions and and a combination of these solutions to essentially transform this surface parking lot over the course of the next 10 years into a more hospitable space for the community along with greenscapes. Our urban transformation zone actually looked at connecting the community to not only the proposed park, but also the sea. And this could be done with a combination of mixed use programmatic development. Uh, what we also took away from this was that there are more than one options of financing a project, and maybe different stakeholders could come together to initiate smaller initiatives. We also realized that we need a very bottom-up approach and a very top-down approach to come together, wherein we tried creating starter kits through which communities could start rainwater harvesting. We were also inspired by projects that already create these platforms, but our vision revolved around, and this was essentially our biggest takeaway, around how we could use surface parking across the city and ecological zones across the city and try and make a connection between those two using the topological diversity of the plants available in the region. You can read more about it in our report. Thank you.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you very much, Parsha. So then I would like to ask Renova. So Karim, and I don't know if Dominic is here as well, but both of you are, yes, I see Dominic. You're welcome to share. No, we can't hear you, Karim, if you're speaking. Or maybe while you figure out how to fix your sound, we can go to another group. Would that help? Okay, so maybe then we ask Joseph, do you want to share your input?
Yes, sure. Can you see my screen?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, perfect. So hello, my name is Joseph. I'm gonna be presenting today the Go Pesto group. I'm gonna present our project, Park It Up. So in Italy, 11% of people are living in flood-exposed areas, along with urbanization challenges, which intensify the risk of disruptive floods and urban heat island effect, and leads to biodiversity loss. So for instance, in Genoa, the interplay of these factors is particularly creating a vulnerable space to extreme weather events. Our site is the same site that Pasha was talking about, is the Largo Santa Maria dei Servi, presents both opportunities and challenges. This hidden gem, which is a parking lot now, lacks outdoor terraces, walkability, safe spaces for kids, but as well has opportunities like good retail frontages and connectivity to the piazza. Although circulation possibilities are limited because there is a dominance of the surface parking, taking away from public space and residents' views. So are you ready to revolutionize urban living and create a community oasis in the heart of the city? Our proposal, Park It Up, will transform the car park into a vibrant and sustainable gathering space for residents and visitors alike. The objective is to create a community space that promotes social interaction, health, and well-being. And it's achieved by incorporating green infrastructure, encourage community engagement, use permeable surfaces, and enhance accessibility and inclusivity while supporting the local economy. Our design strategy emphasizes on the axis that connects the waterfront to the site, while limiting vehicular access to the parking island to only 2 entrances, as we anticipate that reducing car usage will depend on the city's mobility strategy and available transport alternatives. Additionally, we plan to pedestrianize 3 other roads surrounding the parking area using permeable surfaces. We increased the site's permeability not only on the ground, but as well on the elevated platform, creating nature-based solutions that can help retain water and absorb it in order to obstruct water runoffs. The project offers a toolkit that enables the municipality to reorganize, redesign, and transform the park based on the needs of its residents, while providing the flexibility and adaptability required to transition away from car dependency. The catalog of species will help create natural habitats that can invite back natural native species, indigenous species to the site. Increasing biodiversity by emphasizing pollinators like bees will help let the green thrive and grow. We can consider them ecosystem engineers that will help lessen up the maintenance cost while providing a natural solution. The Mediterranean privilege of Genoa will help support outdoor activities and interaction. The area that we're providing is an area that is a multi-species space, providing better quality of life for humans, the need for a healthy space, the need for communal interaction in a comfortable and safe outdoor space. But more importantly, Park It Up is also supporting urban wildlife by reintroducing native species and plants and animals to thrive in such an urban space. It's a space of coexistence. The small boxes that we're seeing are modular and multifunctional. They are providing sittings for people, parapets, planters, habitat for pollinators, playground for kids. It's a holistic approach that will help boost the local economy. Our idea is to design the transition over time. So this kind of transformative intervention will help increase behavioral change and inspire people not only to transform the urban space using tactical urbanism, but also enhance enhance their sense of belonging by transforming as well maybe their own balconies. The stacking is temporary. The parking structure will phase out, leaving more space for central open space, while the remaining scaffolding in the last phase is used as parking for bikes for the residents. The most suitable governance for such a project is network governance. It involves a diverse range of stakeholders, educational, environmental, communal, and from governmental backgrounds, in order to ensure an accurate implementation of this comprehensive approach. Key partnership will help fund the launching of such intervention, but what matters is to make it financially viable and sustainable. So to create a visitors attraction that help boost the local businesses, revenues coming from weekend markets, while reducing life cycle costs of material, aiming to achieve circularity and concretize the vision of a self-sufficient neighborhood park. Cities are in constant change, and our hope from this project is to create a pilot that can create a ripple effect that can inspire policymakers to set regulations related to livability and well-being in such residential courtyards. So we invite you to park it up and transform this place into a destination. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joseph. I don't know, Karim, do you want to try again and see if it...
We'll see, but we are
here
two
we go.
in any case.
Perfect.
Hello, let's see if the screen sharing works.
Can you hear me now?
Hey!
Perfect. Amazing. Okay, before we start, we have a small something written by our team member. It's a small phrase, a verse. It's time to take action to provide Via Cajares with protection, heat, flooding, and cars on the street. That is what Green Nova needs to be. So we are group number 3. We are Green Nova. My name is Karim. We'll be presenting a new intervention on Via Cajares. So
Wait, Karim, if you, I
Yeah,
don't know if you're on the slides, but we see a different page right now.
really,
Yeah.
oh shit. One second. Last time. No. Now. Yes. You see the slides?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Amazing. You heard what I said in the beginning?
Yes, we heard the first part.
Okay, good. So I don't need to refrain. Good. So after our analysis on Via Casares, we saw that there's a lot of flooding. There's a risk of flooding and high heat due to the urban heat island effect and the coastal flooding. So, and plus than this, like low circulation, a high circulation, low pedestrian flow, and high parking spaces. And certainly it's like mainly a residential area. And what helps us the most into this is like actually like as well as low vegetation and low green spaces. But actually what was most important for us is the president, the people that live there, and they helped us actually tailor the scope of our intervention or like our proposal. Different opinion made into the case from young generation, not to be able to play under their house, not to have a space to actually communicate with their friends or to meet, to other people not to be able to walk, or like to new parents not to be able to walk their children because it's very polluted, and as well for tourists not to be a very desirable place to meet or like to visit. So this has led us to tailor a spectrum of intervention over a course of 7 years. The first phase was like from now 2024 is actually creating a permeable pavement for more sustainable or like more sustainable drainage of the water flood or like pluvial water, or actually using endowment plantation to have a sustainable permaculture intervention, and community spaces to create more green and interactive with the people living there. But our main goal is actually to have a car park reduction. So we start with having the optimist opinion of reaching 30% reduction in the first phase. The second phase, starting by reaching 60% by empowering businesses around the area, by empowering biodiversity improvement, and like using more sustainable resolution or more sustainable way of having greenery around the area. And it's even creating shading spaces because of the sun in summer and because of like the heat during the summer season. And reaching the phase 3, which is 7 years from now, reaching the optimist point of reaching 80% reduction in car park and having a fully sustainable fauna and flora preservation and untouched mainly self-sustainable greenery using the permaculture ideology of not touching the green and like be self-sustainable by using only plants from the region, like called endemic plants. We have a very huge catalog of plants that we can use later on, described in our document submitted, so we can refer to this always. But as well, like our nature-based solution is like goes from having implementing small shrubs and reaching to fully grown trees that can like actually live in a very safe space, creating shades, microclimates, unmanaged areas, of course, on the plant to increase the pollinator biodiversity and creating microhabitats for fauna and flora, as I said earlier. So, but we talked last presentation, we talked about how can we fund this? Like mainly it's a funding system that goes from the funding of the municipality of Genova and as well as the EU funding program, because it always communal interaction. We have to take we have to consider the stakeholder and as well to invest in them. So we always need to thrive into an action to let the people follow us into creating more and more. So we created like all of this project comes under the umbrella of system equality, tackling 3 main aspects, which is the social, economic, and environmental. But all of this come in a circular economic way because it creates more sustainable future for the place, attract more tourism, elevate the price of the real estate, and actually create microeconomics in the space. If you want more, Dominic can actually explain the business plan of it, but I can stop here and thank you so much for listening to me.
What was actually super interesting for us was being in person on the site in Geneva. I think that gave us a lot of our ideas, and talking to the residents there showed that we can use not only nature-based solutions to help solve the more indirect problems like heat island effects or something that are less tangible for the people living there, but also use them to give the space a meaning, because right now it's just a parking lot. And if we give the space a meaning, we could create value for so many more people, like as a park or a place to hang out for the citizens who live there close by. It provides business opportunities, because if you have like a nice park and it's also close to the seaside, you could, for example, go for ice cream or go for shopping. And that would be the main value proposition, and also one of the propositions that's covered by the EU program, which would help the city of Geneva finance it.
Thank you very much, Karim and Dominic, for your input. Then I think we will go to the last group of students representing the students, Joshua, and you will lead us also into the next part of the session.
Hello, also from my side. I'm here to represent the herbaceous heroes today. We're also an interdisciplinary team, united through strong love and appreciation for local plant and pollinator species. And this is something that we try to include very much in our project proposal. So our site was Punta Baño, which is a small coastal area along the Genova coastline. Our point of departure was the realization that the largest parts of the Genoese coastline are inaccessible for human use, and the fact that there's a scarcity of green spaces, and the ones that are there are dominated by alien species such as palm trees, makes it even more difficult for local plant and animal species to actually form a healthy ecosystem. So our main goal was to transform the site, which is characterized by a large share of impermeable soil. So you have asphalt, you have closed surface. Over 70%, I think, of the first surface is covered in concrete, which was a major threat to urban heat island effect and a risk factor. The site overall was poorly exploited. There was an abandoned building that wasn't used anymore. We had inaccessible green spaces that couldn't really be used. So for a lot of the people frequenting those spaces, it was actually designed in a very suboptimal way. There's an elementary school directly next by, a playground and a soccer field, but all of that didn't really live up to its potential. So what we decided, also involving mapping of the stakeholders that are in the region, was to orientate the design of the space much more towards the needs of these stakeholder groups. And with these stakeholder groups also include the native plant and animal species. So that was one main objective, to rewild the area, as well as the exploration of the recreational and economic potential, and contribute to social cohesion in the city with one multifunctional space. So we had a very holistic approach, at least that's what we tried to pursue. So the overall goal was to flip this ratio of green soil and concrete, and make it a 70% green areas, most of which are accessible for humans. Some of them also reserved just for rewilding the area, marked with the number 3. You see the multi-use space, which should serve as a cultural center, space for encounters, as well as market, to give space also to the economic potential that lies in this very unique location, directly the Genoese coastline. Here you can see a sketch on the bottom of the slide of how this multi-usage space could look like, and be used for concerts, markets, but also other forms of artistic workshops and creations involving local producers and artists of the local scene, who always struggle to find a stage, actually. Our nature-based solutions were very much going into detail in terms of the local plant and animal species. We had green roofs, green terraces, as I said, accessible and inaccessible green areas, all of which planted in a way that would minimize maintenance costs while at the same time maximizing locality of species. All of this should be implemented through a multi-phase approach and financed by using blended financing, and also relying heavily on local partners in the areas, especially for our cultural multi-use space, which we wanted to animate in close cooperation with local initiatives. And I think for us as a group, it was really beneficial to have so many different expertises. Almost our group of students, I think it was very noticeable that each and every one of us brought a different perspective, and that this was able to sort of enhance the overall outcome of the process. And to sort of underline Also what Dominic says, I think it was very crucial for us to all come together. I think this is something that we've really learned also with the past COVID experiences, that in-person workshops and events like this are irreplaceable, especially when it's connected to an urban planning project, which is so site-specific. So here also on the last slide, one picture of the sort of checking in with the locals who are using the space to really learn what's happening on the ground. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Joshua. So before we go on to the next part where we're going to showcase some of the best practices across Europe, I would like to share with you a very quick Mentimeter that where we can just get some feedback on what you think about the overall idea of such a project, as well as what you thought about the work that was developed by the students. So my colleague will also put the link to the Mentimeter in the chat, but you can also do it on your phone, and it's just 3 quick statements that you have to rank based off of what you feel. And then we will get ready for the next part where we will invite Alyssa and Brindis to share a bit what they are doing in the field of education and transdisciplinarity. So I give just a couple of minutes to this, and then I will invite Alyssa to the stage. Okay, so to give you a little insight into what will happen now, we will share some best practices, and then we will open up the floor to a sort of roundtable discussion where we've invited one student from each institution also to represent the student perspective. And also if anyone else has questions that they would like to ask, feel free to write them down in the chat or in the Q&A, and we can address them in the roundtable. So with that, I hand the floor over to Alyssa, who will share some insights into a new EU project called Circular Design. And she will, you can take it away.
Yeah, hey Fiona, thank you for the invitation, and thank you to all the students. It was very interesting to see your projects before. I'm very curious in this because we are just starting this new project. I will share some slides, and you can see them now.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. No, that was wrong.
Again, what really impact is, so that we are clear on the numbers.
Now see it, right?
Then
so I will present you quickly today CIT, Circular Design. This is a European project. It's an innovation alliance, and actually Fiona and I, we are partners in the project, and that's also how we got to know. And in this project, education also plays a fundamental role, and that's the aspect that's probably most interesting for you, and that's why we share it today. I will probably repeat some things that you already know, because I see Green Skills for Cities is really in the same line of projects. So we are all in these frontline green jobs, urban planners, architects, product and service designers, which concerns all the aspects of city buildings, objects of everyday life. This is all part of the Green Deal of the new European Bauhaus concept. So the idea here is really to rely on these principles of Bauhaus again to bridge between arts, technology in a holistic approach. So we want a cultural change to have it beautiful. It needs to be sustainable and this all together. In this SIT Innovation Alliance, it's a project that runs for 3 years. We are 11 partners. Us, Leibniz University Hanover is lead partner together with the academic partners, University of Genoa and AIAC. You see, it's really a similar approach. Also in Italy, the National Research Council is part as a research institution. Then as our educational approach is a bit broader, not only focusing on academic programs or like on university programs. So we have an association partner as ACES for vocational educational training from Italy. As small and medium enterprises, we have Materium from London. They are working on sustainable and bio-based materials. And from the business part, we have the Tallinn Business Incubator from Estonia. And as further support and input, we have Celia from Spain, Architecturos Fondos from Lithuania, the Architects Council of Europe, and the ALDA as a support. Yeah, so you can see the project structure is quite complex. We are working on these 3 basic columns: urban design, which is represented by us, by Leibniz University in Hanover, then architecture design, that is AIAC, and product and service design from Genoa. Then we have this, I'm sorry, I'm in the train. Hope it's not too disturbing with all the other things that you can hear in the background. As like some transdisciplinary or like, transversal dimensions, we have the bio-based innovation dimension, an urban transformation dimension, and the circular economy dimension. And all like on the educational basis, continuous learning, which includes learning also like outside of the universities or like the classical educational programs there. All of this is framed, as you can see, by 6 observatories that we have. So we're based locally, but also on a European level. So we have 3 local observatories that are in the 3 cities of Hanover, Barcelona, and Genoa. And then we have 3 thematic observatories that are linked, that are on a European level and more linked like thematic wise. So this is the Bio-Based Innovation Observatory, a European Transformation Observatory, and the European Circular Economy Observatory. All these observatories, we started only this September, are at the moment being set up, and will frame and give input and relate us to these different dimensions. So what does circular design mean? Circular design stands for radical change towards circular economy. Design as a practice also for the transformation towards climate neutral cities, and circular design for bio-based innovation. So the objectives are to create a flow and co-creation of knowledge, because we're coming all somehow from different, we're similar disciplines, but also we are not the same, and to create this co-creation of knowledge, new, innovative, and multidisciplinary teaching and learning complexes, and stimulating entrepreneurship in circular design, and fostering green resilience and digital skills. This is all related to the sector of architecture, to the construction economy, to the bioindustries, to urban transformation, and also to cultural and creative industries. Our target groups, and that is probably what is differentiating this project a bit also from your project, is on the one hand graduated students and young professionals in urban design and architecture, factoral design, product and service design, and thematically linked to social, natural science, and engineering. So business, economics, biology, material engineering, and development studies. This is related to institutions like the universities, like the higher education institutions, but also vocational educational training and research institutions, and also trainers and teachers are being trained. This is also focused or like target groups are also small and medium enterprises. So, for instance, design companies or architecture design offices and so on, but also NGOs, public bodies, and citizens. So what are our main activities and what will be our main outputs? We have 4 educational programs. So that includes capacity building and skill building, resources and methodologies. The first one will be training for trainers, then an academic program, an accelerator program, and a continuous learning program. And we have 4 multiplier events. So that is really like then to disseminate the outputs and the results of our program. So that will simulate the flow and exchange of knowledge, of resources, and so on. And then we have the 6 observatories that I explained just before that are linking our activities. And this is really like not a one-way output, but everyone really an exchange and to create a routing also beyond the span of the program. The main benefits or like the people that we were interested in are students and young professionals. So that includes skill upgrading and better positioning in the labor market and triggering startup activities. We are strengthening educational offer and co-creation of knowledge and an innovation ecosystem through these different research institutions that we have. And we are upskilling employees. We support startups and network advantages. So this is also exchange of knowledge and experience there. For the NGOs, cities and the citizens, we offer knowledge and network activities, exchange of experiences and new inputs. So we hope to launch and implement their new visions for cities. Our activities just started. You can follow us on this website. This is innovationalliance.eu. We also have an Instagram channel that is continuously updated. So please check it out and follow us if you're interested in seeing our activities, joining our events. And if you have questions, you can ask me. I'm Alyssa, and this is my email address. And very special, we will, this Friday, we will have the kickoff meeting. So this is actually when we all will meet for the first time in presence in Venice, in this beautiful Palazzo Michele. And if you happen to be there in Venice, you're invited. The first part of the conference is public, so you can register on our website. And if you're not there, this part is of the first part of this kickoff, public part is also streamed on this YouTube channel here of the ECC. I hope that helped to give you an overview of what is going to happen. I'm very curious, and I invite you all to follow us.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Alyssa, for sharing. Now I hand over the floor to Bryndis, who will share another perspective. So Bryndis is working also with a lot of different age groups, but she will tell you more about that. So I hand the floor over to you, Bryndis.
Hi all, can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Perfect. Hi, my name is Bryndis Steina Freygisdóttir, and I'm speaking to you from Iceland. I work at Fab Lab Reykjavík, where we help a multiple variety of individuals to just make things and do kind of, let's say, whatever they want and to make it happen. I decided today to have 3 topics of what I wanted to kind of use to introduce myself. So that's like why cross-disciplinary and cross-border education is important. What are we doing and what we should be doing? So I'm going to start with why well, if anybody would ask me, do you think cross-disciplinary or cross-border education is important? I would say yes, because my educational background is too cross-disciplinary in that sense, having a BA in Spanish and entrepreneur studies, photography, Master of Education, and all of that stuff. So my short answer would always be a yes. But through my work at the lab and other institutes, there's always this common theme of people needing to talk together, like the projects that we've seen today, where you're having individuals that have specialties or interest in different fields, and they come together and meet together in a common project. And they are able to talk together because of these cross-disciplinary aspects that we have in education. The sharing of knowledge is so important that an individual can go to another location and see, yes, because of this structural area, the winds and the trees and these factors come in. That's just the biggest part of it. Our workflow shows also at the lab that the cross-disciplinary aspects, even on the students at the school that the lab coexists in, which is a veterinary vet school and upper secondary technical school and upper secondary. Sorry, I need to take a breather. Is that the importance of the individuals that are either doing the woodwork, electronics, design, even literature, to come into our lab and to be able to take their projects and make it into a three-dimensional object, change it, make it and understand it better. That's where I see that these factors are so important. So we have a higher level even of flipped teaching and a in action learning by doing. You see it how this like implements straight into the classroom, how the individuals learn and just grasp it. What we are doing, we of course are an open digital fabricational lab where the public can come in. So we provide service for the public, educators, students, individuals in the business field, specific with specific technology knowledge, designers, or individuals that just want to come in and learn something new and do something with their hands. So we are a service provider, but we're also participating in projects where both here in Iceland and also abroad, we are always trying to bridge the gap, this digital gap that we are seeing across countries, where both educators in institutes maybe don't have the technical knowledge to be able to educate their pupils, or even the younger individuals that are coming in and just need to learn these things to be able to go into what I would say is the future of the different trades. You see how the carpenter comes in and uses the CNC machine, the electrician comes in and does different things. So we are, in a sense, if we just boil it down to very simplifying, we are helping people to make things and prototyping them on a small scale level. Discussing, we are having a design process like in live process all of the time, if you can say that. We train trainers, we train educators, we work on multiple facets of the educational systems, and we are like in the program was stated, participating in, for example, in the Cocoon project, which is a EU-sponsored project, where we are there offering opportunities for learners to actively contribute to the green transition and take action for an inclusive, environmentally sustainable society, where the approach is to empower learners to become agents of change with the skills that allow us to take action, tools that make creativity and action possible. So there we're striving to be part of a greater cross-border implementation of green practices into education and innovation system with and biofabrication methods into comprehensive learning modules, where the hope is that the biodesign skills will be transferred across countries between different target groups and sectors, thereby bridging even more the education, science, and industry and technological factors that we've always been striving for. And you have to stop me if I talk over. I can talk for the whole day. And so we are cooperating with educators to bring bio-based prototyping competence to enhance prototyping skills, creative agency, and crucial skills into this rapid changing world. And that brings me into the third topic that I gave myself for this introduction of what we should be doing, is that I think we should actually be doing this, is trying to see where we can combine and merge different aspects and see how the new solutions, bio-based and so forth, can coexist in the traditional educational system. And so that is my personal aim in the Fab Lab inside it, is to try to communicate and talk to individuals and connect these little dots so that we can both see the possible changes that are able to do in the curriculum and what we need to do in the classroom, and how we need to implement that into structured methods of trying to do it in a new way. So with that, I think I'm going to say thank you and give it to the next speaker.
Okay, thank you very much, Brindis. So as a last case study or kind of best practice, I want to share very briefly what kind of kickstarted especially the exploration of transdisciplinary education in IAC it's in 2018, specifically with an EU project called BUILDS. I just want to share this because I think it's a very relevant project to share with everyone, and also to give a bit of insight also on how we can merge the different disciplines together. And then I have come up with some questions to ask our invited guests and also our selected students. So in 2018, we project coordinated this EU project called Build Solutions, which was all about fostering transdisciplinary education. It was aimed to offer an educational program that engaged students, teachers, researchers, focusing specifically on entrepreneurial skills, investigating biological systems, and creating prototypes and business plans for students. So in short, this project, the main purpose was to develop a nature-based solution startup in a transdisciplinary team. And this project was developed by 3 higher education institutions. We had several business partners on board that helped to facilitate and kind of give the real business perspective on how to start something from an idea, as well as a partner that provided an accelerator program. The structure of this program has kind of formed the foundation of a lot of courses or kind of projects that we've been developing over the last years, and also has demonstrated the need to us, especially as a kind of architecture and design university, to also focus on the business perspective. So we brought 10 students from 3 different disciplines, so 30 students in total. They had 6 months, and by the end of it, we developed 5 startups that actually several of them continued way beyond the program. Again, the same methodology was kind of used, well, similar to Green Skills, in that we had a kickoff workshop where the students actually worked together. And the challenge of this program was that it actually happened at the very beginning of COVID. So we went from working together to remote working, but remote working became the norm for all these students over the 6-month period. And really the idea was to foster this innovation, this excitement, to take an idea, but actually turn it into a business opportunity. And here again, we had a very kind of clear structure for the students where they were meeting, they had internal kind of deadlines, a midway pitch, and then a final pitch. And all throughout this program, the students were encouraged to engage with the experts, to seek out help when they needed, but also received constant input from all the trainers. And by the end of it, we had students that had really formed new lifelong friendships, but also really great startup ideas that they were able, in some cases, to actually bring to the market. Just to give you an idea of the kinds of projects that were developed through this transdisciplinary project, bringing the 3 disciplines together. We had EpiClay, which was a ceramic tile developed as a green wall system. We had AeroSquare that was focusing on purifying air in metro stations. We had CARE, who developed a 3D printed column that also worked on air purification with a natural sort of air purification system inside using bacteria. We had a group that focused on the styrofoam problem, looking and researching into how worms could be part of this. And then a group that developed playground equipment for the students or for kids. Now, the reason I wanted to show this was that this was a very kind of important project that showcased the importance of transdisciplinarity and also the importance in the motivation coming from the students. So here, a lot of the students look beyond the program for other opportunities. They got funding. They actually had pilot projects where they could test out their ideas. And we also learned a lot about challenges faced in transdisciplinary education. So the importance of testing prototypes, testing initial ideas, also creating a healthy competition between the students to push them forward. And yet, like I said, when students were passionate about the project, they were able to find money in other ways to help support them. And this project really kind of started a lot of the future relationships and projects that we built because it was so successful. So with that, what I would like to do is open the floor up for discussion. So we have Parsha from, well, former IX student, Joshua from Vienna, and Gabriele from Unij, and as well as Brindis and Alyssa are here as well. So I have some questions that I've been thinking about while kind of closing up this project and also thinking about the future. And I think it would be nice to get the insights from both the students, but also kind of other experts in the field. So maybe kind of targeting more the students that participated in this project first. Why do you believe transdisciplinary education is important in your discipline? And then for Brindis and Alyssa also, but in your field of work. So if any of you would like to add or say some few words about that topic, that'd be great to hear.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. To me, it is very simple. What we do, at least what we did at IAC as students, was study cities. And so far as studying cities is concerned, it's for me at least, cities are a collection of people. And that's why just this idea of transdisciplinary education is important, because at the end of the day, you get to realize how different people from different backgrounds are looking at the same site or the same context. Because A, that helps us understand aspirations just as different citizens. But B, if you have a real discourse over it, you get to understand the academics and you get to understand the practicality of so many things within our urban life that are definitely not restricted to urban planning.
Okay, thank you for the insight. Joshua, you want to say something?
Yes, I would maybe also jump in on that question. I think transdisciplinary education is important because I think that our world cannot be simply divided into disciplines. So sort of the fact that the world seems to be transdisciplinary, so to speak, makes it very necessary for me that education and educational institutions account for that. And I think that many of the problems we observe in today's societies are somewhat rooted to a certain extent in the fact that people have limited ability to look outside of their field of expertise. And I think that's why we need experts to talk to one another and actually listen to one another. And as much as we can, also already include transdisciplinary forms of education in training. Of course, we cannot all be generalists who know a little bit of everything. We need experts, but these experts need to talk.
If I can chime in on this, I completely agree, and I see it also in both the professional field and the educational field, is this communication, is to be able to talk. Designers have been talking about this for years, that they should come in earlier in the process, that the design process should have been so and so and so. I think the rest of the world is kind of catching up to this factor, but we are also living in a world where everybody needs to have some kind of knowledge of how to use computers. We're living in a world where the traditional working with your hands job is going into a computer and then also implementing it in going out. So introducing students to different fields so that they have a baseline understanding, I think is crucial, so that they further on in their education and then go to the professional field. They have what should you say, security in being able to go like, okay, wait, I know sort of what you're talking about, and I'll Google the rest, and then tomorrow we'll have an in-depth meeting where we move forward.
Thank you so much for the inputs. I think also that's like both Joshua and Brindis, you kind of touched on it, but I think that's another factor that's very important. It's like, okay, we're doing this at sort of higher level education programs with university students, but it's also something that we could implement at a much younger age. So I mean, in general, kids, when they're playing, they don't think about all these things, but maybe how can we foster, or like what kind of methodologies do you think could be used both in higher education, but also say with younger students to kind of foster these collaborations? Because we see examples here of projects that bring them together, but how can we do this also outside of projects? So maybe we can have the perspective again, like from the students that experience something like this, what maybe were the key aspects that you think really helped you to learn about the different disciplines and maybe also made it interesting? And then from both Alyssa and Brindis, from the experience that we have as professionals in the field, what kind of methodologies do you think could be used to encourage this kind of transdisciplinary education?
So in this case, I could chime in because I'm really involved in transdisciplinary fields, because my field of study is architecture, but I have feet in both urban planning, computer science, and ecology. And I think that transdisciplinary disciplines are really enabling students to find answer for their question that they cannot find in their own field of study. And the question in particular, this was, how can we implement this transdisciplinary? And I think it is something that could be implemented for younger people. And I think at this point, usually gamification is the way to go. I am a true believer that board games, and especially playing games or even social activities, are something that for architects is just a simple way to understand the behavior of things, because we are already exercise, we are already trained into getting a new set of rules and participating one another in a fixed way. And this is a really strong way to envision a different reality where we can put ourselves and we can try to problem solve with it. I applied this methodology with different students in different fields, even in more mathematical approaches where they have difficulty in reaching a particular or grasping a particular concept, but also in doing some educational and volunteering work where I have to explain something from a garden or an ancient palace, having the capacity of taking physically a person and with narration saying, okay, now imagine you're in this setting. What can you do in it? What is your behavior in this perspective? Truly enables somebody to go beyond their box that usually is man-made. We define our disciplinary, we define our classification. So breaking that box, just an illusion, afterward is something that they usually think back to, and they try and they start to think with that new perspective.
Yeah, thank you for that input. I think also, given the kind of transition to the more digital tools, I think that that's a way that definitely we can engage younger children or people of different backgrounds, because it's something that is common and we are all used to in this day and age. So I think that was a really nice input to hear. Alyssa, did you want to say something?
Yeah, no, actually I wanted to relate what Gabriele just said and Brindis before. Well, okay, gamification, it's interesting as a concept, but I particularly also think that the concept of design thinking, which is actually, I think, something that, as Brindis said, people are catching up now with design and like all the design disciplines, this very creative way of bringing different things together, different aspects, is something that is really a huge capacity and skill that the people from these disciplines can bring in projects, and is often misunderstood, because I think like design, you make it look beautiful in the end, but it's actually it's a way of thinking and creating things, and probably that's relating then also to this gamification. This is like really creatively thinking and going beyond like existing concepts and thinking creating visions. And I think that is an approach that really helps also in transdisciplinary projects, because there it's linking different processes, and it's like be able to adjust also to new ways of thinking, and at the same time, because it's according to my experience, not to get lost in all of this, and also understand to rely on your own discipline and what you have learned, where you're an expert in. So, but I think this is something that you can only learn in the making somehow. So with the encounters and the exchanges, to see how much do I need to be open and adapt to other processes and views and perspectives, but at the same time also to say like, yeah, that's my expertise, that's what I can bring into the project. And that is, I think it is a challenge, and it's important to start this, to learn this in an early stage. Probably university is already late. Yeah.
Brindis, did you want to add something as well?
Of course, I always want to talk. So yes, agree with the two of you immensely. The factor of imagination, play, making things simple, and encouraging curiosity is something that we see in toddlers, that they have in a very natural way. And then gradually, as you go up the ladder of education, they seem to be put into a box, and you're supposed to receive information, digest it, and be able to kind of like return something else that's a paint by number picture, which is something that we don't really want to see in the educational system, because you want to have an individual that's like independently thinking and so on. And so this box is what I've started to call the 100% fixation that adults have. And in my research with creativity, I find that with adults, you have to give them permission to play. You have to tell them, like, this is allowed. You don't have to do this like small thing. So the gamification and the social interaction of it goes into this. It's like, you know that you're allowed to play in the game. So by that, you kind of automatically get permission for it. But for other aspects, I feel that the individual who is leading a project needs to open up that there's time for imagination and then time for creativity. But with the younger kids, because we have my best practices thing was really short because I have a lot of examples of best practices, but with really young kids, we go very simple with just like textile fabric, scissors, and just making it and having fun, and then gradually increase curiosity to go there. I would hope to see the educational system go in that direction. Sorry, stopping.
Yeah, Joshua, go ahead.
Yes, I strongly agree with what has been said. Also picking up on the idea or the notion of gamification, I think narratives play a crucial role to actually understand who this person is that I want to include, involve, really get going, motivate for a common project, understand what they're interested in, what kind of story they would be really like willing to dive into. I think is crucial to designing a successful education proposal, especially at a young age. Also, I think many topics have the potential to be interesting. It depends sort of from which angle you get to the problem, and the angle you choose depends on the people you work with.
Yeah, I think that's also a very valid point, and we see that that's also a very important skill, kind of building these narratives and being able to communicate them. So thank you for sharing that point. So I think I round up everything with one final question, because I think the biggest challenge is how do we actually make a change in these rigid educational systems? So that's the big challenge that we face, and these kind of experimental projects that we are developing allow us to test ideas, test concepts with students, get their feedback. But how can we start to actually change the way in which educational programs or master programs, or say any level of education, are already set up, and kind of break the rigidity that currently exists? I think it's a very difficult answer, but I would be kind of willing to close this session with this point, and to hear any ideas that you have on how we can kind of break what is traditional and bring in these more experimental methodologies into education.
So actually, I'll just reiterate exactly what you said. We experiment, right? Like, I think it's that. And more than that, it's we produce. So our course, even what we did at Genoa, was kind of a mix of research and production. But at the end of the day, if we can start generating outputs that actually have a physical imprint in the world, then that is when we'll be able to test our experiments and see what works and what doesn't. But I think starting to experiment just with this idea of not being in a silo, like someone mentioned earlier, and developing projects together, not just research, but also projects together. I think that helps.
Gabriele?
Yeah, absolutely. Experimentation is everything. But speaking as someone who has organized and helped organize some similar projects and similar activities in the scope of gamification is or not, you must be on one end really invested and really passionate about what you're doing. Otherwise, others will not follow. But on the other hand, you have to be really understanding on their willingness to play along. Otherwise, most of these programs and similar activities fail in understanding that others are not in the same level of commitment as you. Maybe it's because of social constraint that they don't want to play. They feel that it's not an adult way of thinking. It's not the proper way of exercising creativity. But speaking with students, if they tell me, oh, wow, this is a cringy activity, then everything else fails. Everything fails and crumbles. And it's a really, really difficult and fine line to understand how much to push people to get out of the comfort zone, especially people who were not trained and not accustomed to do this, and still get profit and still get some degree of success. It's extremely, extremely challenging.
Yeah, I can completely relate to that, because I think often when we start these kind of transdisciplinary programs, we try to put the icebreakers, we try to make all students do these difficult or awkward activities. And sometimes there's a bit of like, oh no, why are you making us do that? But I think by kind of breaking down those walls and letting them be how they want to be, I think is a big step in also kind of allowing people to not be so nervous with each other and kind of be able to communicate and share their ideas and have the confidence to do that. So I think that this is something very vital when we start to bring lots of people together from different fields. Yeah, breaking those barriers of communication at the initial stages. Brindis, you want to add something?
Anybody else want to talk? The floor is open. Yeah, my initial thought when you went to make a change is to the phrase change the classroom. And there I mean not just what you teach, but the physical classroom itself. So if you look at examples like thinking classroom with mathematics, where you stand up and you're drawing everything and you're writing it and working in groups, then we have an implementation of change. But then while we're talking about the interdisciplinary factors of the students or are supposed to be talking together, the educators have to talk as well. So they have to be willing to talk and open up their curriculum and be open to changes to see if something would fit together, to switch and change up. And that is a very hard change when you have maybe a group of 8 in a faculty or a division, and 2 of them really are like, woo, change, and the rest, or 4 are going, maybe, and then there are 2 going like, I'm a dinosaur. So getting the dinosaurs over that tipping point and changing the thought process of it would be where I would want to really make a change, because I think that will make a ripple effect into it. But I also agree that if there's an output from the classroom, and other individuals see that this input is having a positive output effect, that could also have a reverse around. Over and out.
Thank you all very, very much for your insights and also sharing some of your experiences. So with that, I will ask one final thing, which is to give us some general feedback regarding what you saw today. And also all of this will be made available online. So if you want to look back or reflect on certain aspects that were discussed today, we will be sharing the recording of this through the Green Skills website. And as I said before, if anyone is in Barcelona, Vienna, or Genoa, feel free to join us for a symposium. Each symposium will be structured slightly differently, but there will be guests coming from different places, sharing their expertise in relation to topics of nature-based solutions, as well as cities and how we are developing our cities. So we would be very happy to see you there as well. But thank you all very much for joining, and we hope to be in touch with some more, well, with you in the future. And if you are interested in the things that you saw today, feel free to also reach out to us. So big thank you to all my guests, Brindis and Alyssa, for joining, and all the students that participated in the program, for sharing also your insights and your experiences. And with that, I say thank you and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you as well.